London in 1763 stood at the edge of transformation. The city had survived fire, plague, and decades of political upheaval to emerge as something unprecedented in human history. What we're about to witness represents the moment when a medieval city began its metamorphosis into the world's first truly modern metropolis. Using cutting-edge artificial intelligence, we can now step directly into these reconstructed streets, experiencing London exactly as it appeared during this pivotal year. By analysing period maps, architectural drawings, and contemporary accounts, we've recreated the sights, sounds, and atmosphere of a city on the brink of explosive growth. This is London in 1763, captured in stunning detail, allowing us to walk alongside the merchants, labourers, and visionaries who were about to reshape the urban world forever. The London of 1763 was already remarkable by any measure. Nearly 750,000 people crowded within its boundaries, making it the largest city in Europe and arguably the most dynamic urban centre on Earth. But what made this year extraordinary wasn't just the city's size. It was the moment when London's leaders made a series of decisions that would trigger the greatest urban expansion in history up to that point. Standing at the heart of this bustling metropolis, we can see the forces that were already reshaping the cityscape. The ancient walls that had once defined London's limits were becoming increasingly meaningless as neighbourhoods spilled outward in every direction. Wealthy merchants were constructing grand estates beyond the traditional boundaries, while working families established new communities wherever they could find affordable land. The River Thames remained London's lifeline, just as it had for centuries. Merchant vessels from across the globe crowded its waters, their masts forming a forest of commerce that stretched from the Tower to Westminster. Ships arrived daily, carrying tea from China, sugar from the Caribbean, and timber from North America. The wealth generated by this global trade was visible everywhere, from the elegant new squares being laid out in the west to the expanding warehouses and workshops that lined the riverbank. But 1763 marked a turning point in how London approached its own growth. For the first time in the city's history, expansion was being planned rather than simply allowed to happen. The authorities had learned harsh lessons from the Great Fire of 1666 and the chaotic development that had followed. Now, they were determined to guide London's growth with deliberate intention. The transformation began with the roads. Ancient pathways that had served the city for centuries were being widened, straightened, and paved with stone. New arteries were carved through dense neighbourhoods, connecting distant districts and allowing goods and people to move with unprecedented efficiency. These weren't just improvements to existing infrastructure. They represented a completely new vision of how a city should function. Walking through Mayfair in 1763, we can witness one of the most ambitious urban planning projects of the age. What had once been open fields and market gardens was being transformed into a network of elegant squares and crescents. The development wasn't random or haphazard. Every street was carefully planned, every building lot precisely measured, every public space deliberately positioned to create maximum impact. The genius of this expansion lay in its integration of commerce, residence, and public life. Unlike earlier developments that had grown organically around markets or churches, these new neighbourhoods were designed as complete communities from the beginning. Grand houses for wealthy families stood alongside shops for daily necessities, while churches and schools provided focal points for community life. Perhaps nowhere was this transformation more visible than in the area around Grosvenor Square. Here, an entirely new district was rising from farmland, complete with wide boulevards, carefully planned gardens, and architectural standards that would influence urban design for generations to come. The scale of the project was breathtaking. Hundreds of workers laboured daily to lay foundations, raise walls, and create the infrastructure necessary to support thousands of new residents. The expansion wasn't limited to the fashionable western districts. Across the city, new neighbourhoods were emerging to house London's growing population of craftsmen, shopkeepers and labourers. These developments might not have matched the grandeur of Mayfair or Marylebone, but they represented equally important innovations in urban planning. For the first time, working families could live in purpose-built housing with proper sanitation, adequate light, and reasonable access to their places of employment. The docks were undergoing their own revolution. The medieval wharfs that had served London for centuries were being expanded and modernised to handle the ever-increasing volume of global trade. New warehouses rose along the riverfront, their massive stone walls designed to store the wealth of empires. Specialised facilities were being constructed for different types of cargo, from the delicate spices of the Orient to the heavy machinery beginning to emerge from England's nascent industrial workshops. Transportation within the city was being revolutionised as well. The narrow twisting lanes that had characterised medieval London were giving way to broader streets designed specifically for wheeled traffic. Hackney carriages were becoming commonplace, offering a new level of mobility for those who could afford them. The river itself was being transformed into a more efficient transportation network, with new piers and landing stages allowing passengers and goods to move quickly between different parts of the city. This expansion wasn't happening in isolation. London in 1763 was part of a rapidly changing world, and the city's growth reflected broader transformations in trade, technology, and social organisation. The 7 Years' War had recently ended, leaving Britain with an expanded empire and unprecedented access to global markets. The wealth flowing into London from these new territories was visible everywhere, from the exotic goods in shop windows to the grand homes being built by successful merchants and colonial administrators. The population growth that drove this expansion was remarkable in both its scale and its diversity. Immigrants arrived daily from across Britain and Europe, drawn by opportunities that simply didn't exist anywhere else. Irish labourers worked alongside German craftsmen and French Huguenots, creating a cosmopolitan atmosphere that was unique in the world. This mixing of cultures and traditions was producing innovations in everything from architecture to cuisine, making London not just larger, but genuinely different from any city that had come before. Yet the expansion of 1763 represented more than just physical growth. It marked the moment when London began to think of itself as a global city, with responsibilities and opportunities that extended far beyond the British Isles. The decisions made during this pivotal year would determine not just how London would grow, but what kind of city it would become. The stage was set for transformations that would reshape the urban world forever, creating patterns of development that cities across the globe would eventually follow. The architectural revolution sweeping through London in 1763 was unlike anything the world had ever witnessed. Master builders and architects were pioneering construction techniques that would define urban development for centuries to come. Brick was becoming the material of choice, not just for its durability, but for the speed with which entire neighbourhoods could rise from empty lots. The standardization of building methods meant that skilled craftsmen could work more efficiently, while the consistent quality of construction created streetscapes of remarkable uniformity and beauty. The planning of these new districts reflected a sophisticated understanding of urban life that hadn't existed just decades earlier. Streets were laid out in geometric patterns that maximized both accessibility and visual appeal. Public squares were positioned at regular intervals, providing gathering spaces for residents while ensuring that no home was far from fresh air and open space. The integration of commercial and residential uses meant that daily life could unfold within walking distance, reducing the chaos and congestion that had plagued earlier urban development. Water supply and waste management were receiving unprecedented attention as the city expanded. Engineers were developing systems that could serve thousands of new residents without compromising public health. Aqueducts brought fresh water from distant sources, while improved drainage systems carried waste away from populated areas. These invisible infrastructures were as crucial to London's expansion as the grand buildings that captured public attention. The social implications of this growth were profound and far-reaching. New neighbourhoods were creating opportunities for social mobility that had been virtually impossible in the rigid hierarchies of medieval London. Successful merchants could purchase homes in fashionable districts, while skilled craftsmen could establish workshops in purpose-built commercial areas. The expansion was breaking down traditional barriers between different classes of society, creating a more fluid and dynamic urban culture. Religious institutions were adapting to serve this growing population in innovative ways. New churches were being constructed not just to provide spiritual guidance, but to serve as community centres for rapidly forming neighbourhoods. The architectural styles of these buildings reflected the cosmopolitan nature of London's population, incorporating design elements from across Europe while maintaining distinctly English characteristics. Education was becoming a priority in ways that would have seemed impossible in earlier generations. Schools were being established in new districts from the moment of their founding, rather than added as afterthoughts years later. This represented a fundamental shift in how society viewed the relationship between urban growth and human development. The expansion of 1763 wasn't just about creating more space for people to live, but about creating better conditions for human flourishing. The entertainment and cultural life of London was exploding alongside its physical growth. New theatres were opening in districts that had been farmland just years before. Coffee houses were becoming centres of intellectual and social exchange, while taverns and pleasure gardens provided recreation for working families. The expansion was creating not just more London, but a richer and more varied urban experience. Markets and commercial districts were being designed with unprecedented sophistication. Rather than allowing trade to develop randomly around existing streets, planners were creating purpose-built commercial areas with proper storage, efficient transportation access, and adequate space for both buyers and sellers. These planned markets were more hygienic, more efficient, and more profitable than their medieval predecessors. The transformation of London's relationship with the surrounding countryside was equally dramatic. Villages that had existed independently for centuries were being absorbed into the expanding metropolis, their residents becoming Londoners almost overnight. Agricultural land was being converted to urban use at a pace that would have seemed impossible just decades earlier. The boundary between city and country was becoming increasingly blurred as suburban development created transitional zones that combined urban convenience with rural charm. Manufacturing was finding its place within this expanding urban landscape. New districts were being designated for industrial use, with workshops and factories positioned to take advantage of river transport while minimizing disruption to residential areas. The integration of production and commerce within the urban fabric was creating economic efficiencies that would drive London's continued growth for generations. The legal and administrative systems were evolving to manage this unprecedented expansion. New courts were established to handle the increased volume of property disputes and commercial transactions. Local government structures were being created to provide services to new neighbourhoods. The expansion required not just physical infrastructure, but entirely new approaches to urban governance. Transportation networks were becoming more sophisticated as the city grew. Regular coach services connected distant neighbourhoods to the city centre, while river transport was being systematized to provide reliable connections along the Thames. The movement of people and goods was being transformed from a chaotic struggle into an organized system that could support continued growth. The health and sanitation improvements accompanying this expansion represented a revolution in urban living. New neighborhoods were being built with proper sewerage from the beginning, while established areas were being retrofitted with improved waste management systems. The lessons learned from previous epidemics were being applied on a massive scale, creating living conditions that were dramatically healthier than anything London had known before. This great expansion of 1763 was more than just urban growth. It represented the birth of the modern city, with all the opportunities and challenges that would define urban life for centuries to come. The decisions being made in this pivotal year would echo across the globe as other cities sought to replicate London's success while avoiding its mistakes. The transformation we're witnessing through these reconstructions marked the moment when humanity began to reimagine what cities could become. The London we've witnessed through these reconstructions represents far more than a single moment in urban history. It captures the precise instant when humanity discovered how to build cities that could grow without destroying themselves. The innovations pioneered during this remarkable year would spread across continents, shaping the development of New York, Paris, and countless other metropolises that followed London's example. Standing here in these digitally recreated streets, we can almost feel the energy that drove this transformation. The merchants negotiating deals that would reshape global trade, the architects sketching plans for neighborhoods that would house generations of families, the laborers whose daily work was literally building the future. Each decision made during this pivotal period rippled outward, creating patterns of development that continue to influence how we design and inhabit cities today. Through these AI reconstructions, we've walked the same cobblestones as those who witnessed the birth of the modern world. The London of 1763 shows us that extraordinary change is possible when vision meets opportunity, when careful planning combines with bold ambition.